Welcome to the Legal Tech Insider presented by Blushark Digital. Dive into the latest and greatest technology with industry leaders to help bring your firm to the next level.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining me on another episode of Legal Tech Insider. Today we are joined by Pratik Shah, who is the co-founder and CEO of EsquireTek. Today we're going to talk a little bit about litigation support, and as always, we're going to start off with a little bit of an introduction. So Pratik, tell me a little bit about EsquireTek, your role there, and kind of what had you create this product?
Yeah, thank you so much. And thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate that. So, this product was kind of born out of just frustration with the written discovery process. I started off as a solo practitioner doing all my own stuff, like a true solo, right? No paralegals, no attorneys with me, nothing else, just me, and doing it all myself. And it's a pretty grueling process, especially when you have to do it manually. And so obviously I eventually hired somebody for them to do it because I didn't want to do it. I tried outsourcing it. I tried all these things to eliminate the part of written discovery where we're copying and pasting questions. We're getting responses from clients. We're copying and pasting objections into there. It's just such a manual, tedious process that it just always bugged me as to why are we doing it this way? And I started asking my paralegals now, like, hey, what can we do to get these cases moving faster? Clients obviously want their cases done faster. And the bottleneck, the answer as to what the bottleneck was almost always written discovery. It's just a slow and tedious process. We tried a couple of different services. We tried some virtual paralegal services, some outsourcing stuff. It was just as slow and not as reliable. And then I started talking to some tech people, and I met my co-founder and CTO, Dr. Slim, who I told him about our big problem and our big issue. And we designed it together, and we came up with what we believe is the best way and fastest way to get through written discovery. So that's kind of how this idea was born. And what it does is it extracts the questions from the PDFs that you get from opposing counsel, sends your client a HIPAA compliant text message and email link, allows them to respond securely that way, and then provides you an objections button where you can just click it and a list of objections come up, which can be fully customized. And you just click your objections instead of copying and pasting. And so this is a product that we first developed for my law firm, and then decided, wait, this is a little bit bigger than just my law firm, and we need to kind of put this out publicly, and we've got kind of a commercial product on our hands.
Awesome. So unlike a lot of the legal products that I see and that we've talked about on this particular podcast, something I really like is that this was actually created by a law firm, by a lawyer, right? A lot of times you guys have so much more details about what is the issue and how can I fix it. So you talked a little bit about the struggles and saying, copying and pasting and all the manual work that went into it. Can you give me a little bit more insight as to how long it took for you guys to develop this product? Was there maybe one more or two more items you realized along the way, oh shit, I could do this too to make this faster? And some of those product pieces you can highlight about EsquireTek.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, the product started probably 3-4 years ago was the initial idea of it. And originally I hired a company to try to develop it. That didn't go very well. Spent a lot of money and probably a little bit over a year with a finished product that just was nothing like what I wanted, nothing like what I had visioned. And that's when I met Dr. Slim. I started asking people around for advice, and I got introduced to Dr. Slim. We looked at it, we talked about it together. And, he's an engineer. So he's a PhD in engineering, a master's in engineering. And so when I told him about our manual process, his initial reaction is, are you sure it's not just you? Because this seems ludicrous. And so I had to go out and ask a bunch of paralegals and lawyers at other law firms, what do you guys do? What's your process for written discovery? Because, there's a chance that it's just me who's inefficient and everybody else knows the secret that I don't know. But it turns out that that wasn't the case, that everybody was doing it this manual way. And so when I came back to Dr. Slim and kind of had to pitch the idea, because as engineer, he couldn't believe that we were that inefficient. And so, when I finally showed him the data, I had 100 survey responses from paralegals and lawyers, and I showed him people are spending hours and hours doing this stuff. He's like, okay, well, let's do this thing. And so we started building it. And that's kind of how we came to this product. And it's really interesting because it takes a long time to build something right. The first product, like I said, we hired a company to build it out. It was not great. It wasn't something I would want to use. It wasn't something I would want my clients to use. And then the second product that Dr. Slim kind of was, storyboarding, and then I would tweak a little bit here because he comes from the engineering perspective where he says, this is the most efficient way. And then I come from the lawyer perspective and I say, hey, I understand that, but attorneys are going to want certain control. They're going to want the ability to change this because every law firm does things a little bit differently. So even though this might streamline the process per the Code of Civil Procedure and may be perfectly appropriate to do it, attorneys are not going to want a one size fits all. They're going to want a little bit of the ability to tweak and change and use parts that they don't want to use and not use parts that they don't want, et cetera, et cetera. So, that was kind of where we had to pull back a little and say, okay, this is the most efficient. Well, now let's dial it back and say, this might be a little bit more inefficient, but it gives the lawyers the control on doing it the way their practice is run.
Awesome. So you mentioned that you had about 100 surveys from firms and paralegals who helped kind of craft this product.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit more about what kind of firm, obviously we know it's PI, right?
Yeah.
But what kind of firm, size-wise, volume-wise, benefits from this particular product?
Yeah, great question. Really any firm that does civil litigation is going to benefit. What we've run into is that the contingency law firms are the most excited about it because their interests are aligned, right? The faster they can close a case, right, the sooner they can get paid. Clients are happy, they're happy. It's a win-win. The cash flow just keeps coming. Our defense firms that we've run into, that we've shown it to, the immediate response has been, this is going to kill my billables. So there has been some pushback from the defense firms, despite the fact that it's more efficient. My counter argument to them is always, hey, if you guys just cared about billables, then why'd you ever switch away from typewriters? That would get you more billables. Why don't you stay there? So eventually, I think both sides of the aisle are going to come back to wanting to be more efficient. And especially as it comes in from the top, right? We have an insurance company that's running a pilot program on this. We have Caltrans that's running a pilot program on this. And so as those entities and organizations start using these kinds of products and then force it downstream, there really isn't going to be a choice. It's just going to be a matter of adopt now or adopt later. So, any civil litigation firm can benefit from this. What we found is the people that are most likely to adopt and embrace it have been our contingency fee lawyers and then our corporations.
Okay. And so the name of the game here is automation, streamlining, and you mentioned that it's going to kill some people's billables. So have you done any studies, as you created it for your own firm, right, about how much time do you think is saved per case, or however your measurement would be on using this automation versus all the manual e-discovery tactics?
Yeah. So, I think it's fair to say that between 3 to 5 hours per discovery set is saved. And the way we come to that data is 40% of survey respondents said that they spend between 1 to 2 hours just creating the word shell, from taking the PDF, for states that use pleading paper, they take the PDF, they have to create the word shell. On states that don't use pleading paper, that is not necessary. But that alone saves 1 hour to 2 hours because our software does that in 60 seconds. So that's eliminated. Then the next part is, thank you. And then the next part is the client communication. Most firms report that they're spending between 2 hours to 4 hours on average, about 3 hours, getting on the phone with the client or communicating with the client to get responses from them. So this doesn't completely eliminate that 3 hours, but it takes it down to 30, 40 minutes. So you're saving a couple hours there because we can send our client a text message and an email link. Most clients will fill it out. Our backend data shows that 60% of clients will actually respond that way, which if you think about any law firm, if 60% of your clients will respond via text and email, that just saves a ton of time. And so there might still be a phone call to clean up some answers or to get some clarification on some stuff, but at least the basic information is done through the internet, either by SMS text messages or by email. So that saves some time there. The other part that we added probably about 4 months ago, which was based on user feedback, is verifications. A lot of states require the clients to sign under the penalty of perjury that the answers they gave were truthful. Well, it was a pain to get clients to sign because they'd either have to come into the office, was sent by DocuSign, by email. Some clients don't have email. They don't know how to use that. So we added what we've named it is text sign. Sends the client a text message link. They click it, they sign with their finger right on their phone. and the verifications all come back and all the metadata is tracked. So that saves a bunch of time
awesome.
there. Yeah, so we have all kinds of features. Depending on if somebody's ready to jump in and use all the features, they're going to save a lot more time. Some people are a little bit hesitant with new technology, so they come in, they just use maybe the shell creation and the client communication. But as people get more and more used to the program, we're just seeing that time savings go higher and higher.
Awesome. So you talked a little bit about how it's possible to even, after this product's been created for a year, 2 years, 4 years in the making, that you were able to add on a piece, right? Just 4 months ago. So let's talk a little bit about the actual software. So in terms of support, let's say I am trying to integrate this into my firm. What is your onboarding experience? Do you send people out to the firms to help them? What does that look like if I was to sign up and say, I need help putting this together?
Oh, it's a super simple and easy process to sign up. One of the things that was super important to me in developing this is, attorneys and paralegals don't have time. Nobody has time to learn any new piece of software. They don't have time to do marketing, right? Like you ask them to create content and write blogs, and they don't have time for that. They're so busy and they're so swamped. So what we found is after people see the demo, it's usually a 30-minute demo. We kind of call it our EsquireTek process. There's a 3-step process. There's the 30-minute demo. You see it, you get the meeting, you understand right away how it's going to benefit your firm. Then what we ask for from our firms is a commitment, not just the financial commitment. That part's easy, but it's the emotional commitment that, hey, I'm going to commit to trying some cases through this program, because the last thing I want is for people to sign up and pay for it and then never use it, because they're just going to end up saying it didn't do anything for me. They're not going to be happy with me. They're not going to be happy with the company. So we pride ourselves on, hey, if you sign up, we're going to be on top of you of, hey, let's set up a training. For a training, you really don't need more than an hour. We can go through everything in an hour. We record it. If we do it by Zoom, we can record it. If you want it in person, we can do it in person, give you the recording. You have an account executive assigned to your firm that's available to you. We have a website chat where you can chat with a live person anytime you run into trouble. We have what we call a Tech Academy, which is a series of videos on our website. For some people that don't want to communicate, they just want to watch a video, we have those. We have a FAQ. We really, really take pride in people using it and not just signing up. We don't want to be just sales driven of let's just get everybody's credit card and hard sell them. We want people to use it, see a benefit, and we will see the benefit of our reputation go up if we kind of encourage and get people to use it.
That's excellent. So when I hear about software companies, especially, a lot of times there's like one touch point and way that you can get in touch with your technical service and technical support, right? So hearing 3 different ways, live chat, there's the videos, you're a dedicated account manager. Does your dedicated account manager kind of stick with you throughout the process? Do you see a time period in which people are like, oh, I get it after 3 months, I don't have any questions anymore? Or is there a time period where you get comfortable with it?
It happens all the time. What we found is once firms try 3 to 4 cases through the software, they either get it, they see the benefit and they're like, hey, we're good. This is easy to go. This is ready to go. And they just take off from there. And then maybe, hey, if they get locked out, they need to get their password reset, or, some little things like that might come up. They can absolutely contact us. The account manager will stay with them for the life of them being with our company. So they're not going to get new people. And of course, as long as that account manager stays with us, right? But so you're not going to get new people. You're not being transferred from one person to another person. And what we believe is people learn in different ways. Some people like to be taught one-on-one. Some people like to just watch a video. Some people like to just read a manual. Everybody kind of learns differently. And so we wanted to have all these ways available so that for whichever way your paralegal or your team members learn, that's available to them.
Okay, and now because it is a software, right? This is something that is easily accessible from work from home or whatever it may be. But how do you do it, by like seats or by licenses? How do you guys structure this for a team?
Yeah, I want to touch on 2 points with that. One, we believe the future of law firm work is remote. We just believe that. We strongly believe that most law firms are going to go fully remote, if not at least hybrid. It just makes sense because as a law firm owner, you can find talent anywhere in the world, really, that can work for you and help your firm become more efficient. So that was important that that's accessible. So anywhere you have internet, you can access EsquireTek.com. So if you hire somebody overseas to do your discovery, or if you hire somebody in a different state or a virtual paralegal or whatever, they can have their login. and they can log in and they can work on discovery. So that's number one, is super important to us. Number two, we don't do it by seat. And the reason I don't do it by seat, even though every other software company does it by seat or license, is because it was always frustrating to me as a law firm owner to have to pay for some licenses. I don't know who's going to actually use it in my firm until they actually sign up and they start using it. Now I've paid for 2 licenses that nobody's using. Oh. So it was a major frustration and annoyance for me. So we just charge per law firm. You can have as many logins and licenses as you need. There's no need to create a license, or if somebody leaves your firm or you get rid of them, you don't have to delete a license or anything like that. I mean, for security purposes, you probably want to, but as far as your pricing goes, it's not going to be affected because you have 3 extra people than another law firm, and everybody can have their own login.
Okay, so the fun stuff, pricing, money, everybody cares about that, right? So are we a long-term contract? Is it month to month? And then what does your pricing structure look like?
So we have 3 different models on pricing. One, we have a pure consumption based, right? I'm a former solo attorney and still a small firm. So I've got a lot of love for the solos and people that go out on their own. And I know that when you're a solo, every penny counts, right? You just can't afford certain things. So we just have it. We have one that's consumption based, no charge to open your account. You get 5 free trials, and then you just pay for what you use. It's $15 a document, $2, everything's a la carte. So it's $15 for a discovery, $2 to use TechSign, $5 if you want the proof of service generated. So you just charge per account. So you don't have a lot of business in the beginning. Pay as you go makes sense. We see a lot of solos and small firms that use that. And then after you're doing about 5 or 6 sets of discovery a month, it just makes sense to move over to the unlimited. So we have a monthly unlimited and we have an annual unlimited. The monthly unlimited is no contract. It's just month to month, $300 a month for your entire firm. You can run as much discovery as you want. And then we have the annual unlimited, where if you will commit to us for a year, you get a little bit of a break. It comes to $249 a month. You just pay up front for the year. And then again, same thing, you can just kind of run as much discovery as you want. So, being a new software, we've priced aggressively. We feel very reasonable for the time savings we provide, because we want people to get out there and try us and use us and change the way they do discovery by using our software, and understand how valuable software can be within your business.
Okay, awesome. So now you mentioned before, you, out of frustration, you created this, right? But you had tried a couple of different products or even outsourcing. So what would you say are 2 features of this product that you just couldn't find with other things that just were the reason that those products were a letdown?
Yeah, I mean, for California and for states that use pleading paper, California and Nevada, a big problem was the conversion of the document, converting from PDF to Word. That's a 2-hour process. And there just isn't a faster way to do that. You have to copy and paste question by question and then fix the formatting. For those on the East Coast, or basically east of the Mississippi, that don't use pleading paper, that's not a pain point. The other big pain point was client communication. There's a lot of times we get asked basic questions: where our clients went to high school, who's their family doctor, what's their social security number, what's their, do they have Medicare, do they have Medi-Cal? These basic questions that still require me to schedule an appointment with my client, get on the phone with them, and then it's a 3-hour, 2-hour phone call to get this basic stuff. Now, there's going to be some complicated questions that are going to require a phone call, right? Like, hey, let's talk about how this has affected your daily life from an injury perspective. But basic background information, clients can fill out on their phone or can fill out via email. And most clients actually prefer the phone. Just as much as, paralegals and attorneys don't want to spend 3 hours on the phone with the clients, surprise, surprise, clients don't want to spend 3 hours on the phone with their attorney or paralegal either. So this is a benefit to them. And law firms have told us, clients that wouldn't respond to their emails, wouldn't respond to their phone calls, we send them a text message link and suddenly we got all the answers back, because clients can do it on their lunch break. They can do it when they take their kids to school. They can do it while they're watching Netflix. They can it can fit into their lifestyle a lot better. Hopefully they're not distracted, but you know what I mean? Yeah,
right. Can't let the machine do everything, right? But
yeah.
You mentioned a little bit there about, and I think with the legal industry, one thing we run in with all sorts of products, right, as legal resources, is that every state is different. Every state has its own bar and its own rules. So you mentioned that California and Nevada have certain rules. East Coast might have their own rules. How do you handle that for your product across different states? Where are you able to actually help people right now, and how do you expand to different states?
Yeah, so we started in California. Obviously, that's low-hanging fruit for us because I'm a California lawyer. I have a law firm. I have all the paperwork and know the rules in California. And then we started going state by state. And what we did when we went into each state is we found a partner in that state. We went to Tennessee. We have one of the largest firms in Tennessee that worked with us as our partner. We went to Nevada, have one of the largest firms in Nevada. Texas, Florida. We're in Indianapolis. We're in, Indiana. Indianapolis. The firm is in Indianapolis, state of Indiana, Kentucky. We're in a couple of these states where we found partner firms, Minnesota, where we found partner firms in those states that said, hey, this could be really useful to me in my state. And I know this will be really useful to my practice. How do we help you? So what I would get is samples from them and then the rules and kind of, hey, can you guide me to where the rules are? I don't expect them to do my work for me, but if they can at least point me in the right direction, I can do the rest of the research and find out exactly what it needs to look like for that state. Send me a couple samples. Let me see what it's supposed to look like. And then I take it to the engineers. I explain it to the engineers, and then they can kind of develop it for that particular state. So we've launched in about 8 states now. We're hoping to be in all 50 by the end of next year. Well, the end of 2022. So.
Yeah, excellent. So I've got listeners from all across the country. So what states are you looking for a partner in, and how can they kind of get in touch with you if they're looking to be one of your little test dummies?
Yeah, it'd be amazing if they just go on the website, EsquireTek.com. There's a section that says, request a demo and what state would you like to use EsquireTek in. We've had a lot of people just put in there, Ohio or Michigan or whatever the state is. And then I'll reach out to them and say, hey, we're not in that state. We'd love to partner with you and kind of figure out how we can get into that state. So, New York is a big one that we're targeting that we're not in yet. We're in Texas, Tennessee, Oklahoma. Well, no, we're not in Oklahoma, Florida, Nevada, Indiana, and Minnesota. So those are the states we're in. Really, every other state. Washington is a big state that we're targeting because I know they use pleading paper, so that's something that could really be beneficial to Washington lawyers. So yeah, Washington and New York are probably the 2 biggest ones, but we're anticipating that we'll be in Ohio before the end of Q1, and we should be in South Carolina before the end of Q1 as well.
So something I really appreciate is that as a co-founder, you actually know all the states that you're in, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people who are not in the weeds with a lot of this stuff are like, let me talk to somebody who knows this information. So guys, that's really impressive, right? He's hands on deck. And then I want to kind of talk about culture. We talked a lot about the product and kind of the history of it, but I will say, as a person that goes to lots of conferences, right? I started to do some West Coast conferences recently, guys, and there's a whole different world out there. The West Coast lawyers are very different folks, but the party is a bit wilder, and I see these giant booths, not even booths, right? It's like open bar. They've got donut walls, all sorts of. They got video consoles. They took conferences and exhibit halls to a different level. Like, who are these people? I've got to go meet them, right? So EsquireTek has been very fun at these conferences in terms of engaging folks. And so I can only imagine what the culture at your company is. So tell me a little bit about that. Do you guys have set values or core values that you guys all stick to and all that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first and foremost is always do the right thing, right? It's just, that's number one. And I think whether we grow slower than other companies or whatever, because we do the right thing, then that's fine, because that's the company I want to be a part of, and that's a company I can be proud of. And I think that permeates throughout, right? It's not just do the right thing for our customers, it's do the right things for our employees. If our employees need to take time off or whatever they need, they can do it. We trust each other. We treat everyone like adults, and we know that everybody's doing their job and is going to show up when it's time to show up and be a team when it's time to be a team. And I think that respect goes a long way for people. I think most people are used to working at a place where their boss tells them, hey, what are you doing? Hey, it's 8:15 a.m. I didn't see you log in. What's going on? And I don't like that. I never liked that as an employee. I don't run the law firm that way. I don't run EsquireTek that way. What's really important is we have our quarterly meetings. We know what everybody's goals are. We have a Slack channel. We chat. We have a good time. We joke around. Everybody's kind of loose. but we all know that it's important to hit our numbers and to produce. And so as long as we're producing and we're hitting our numbers, everybody should be treated like adults. We don't have like, some firms that go remote, they end up having like time clocking software where people got to log in. And I don't like all that. I think that just you're asking them to cheat the system by saying, we're going to track you so much. It makes people think, well, how can I get around this? As opposed to, hey, I trust you, just don't violate my trust. And I think people will respect that and not want to violate your trust because you've trusted them. They understand that that's important. And they understand too, like everybody's, not only from just a respect and trust perspective, but from a pay perspective, right? Everybody's pay is kind of aligned with company goals. So if we're all working hard and I'm giving you the freedom to do your job, and that, hey, if we hit these company goals that are very realistic, you're also going to benefit from it, then everybody's kind of aligned the same way. I think that's super important. Even at the law firm, we do something a little bit different than a lot of law firms. We have a 5% bonus structure. We say whatever firm revenue is, 5% comes off the top and gets distributed evenly to everybody in the company. And so everybody's goals are aligned. Cool. Everybody wants the company to do well. Everybody wants clients to be happy. All of that is super important. And so from that perspective, I think that the only thing that matters is obviously, doing the right thing, taking care of the customers. Those are two super important core values that we have. And then all of that aligns all the way down to our employees, their families, everything is everybody wants to work at a place where they're valued and they're appreciated and they can have intellectual stimulation and they can be pushed a little bit to reach the next level. So those are the things we focus on.
Awesome. And I could not agree more on the monitoring of employees on the virtual side. I know that a lot of talks have happened on that, right? Just the 2020 hit. And we're of that model. I think when you also give them that freedom, you're showing them the trust, right? And they want
for you, right? They feel that they're actually valued at their company. Yeah. That goes beyond anything else you can do for your team. So absolutely agree with you on that. I also, as we're talking about talks, I've seen you speak at a couple of different conferences recently. Some fun stuff. I like to ask some rapid fire questions just about you. So I know that I don't know where you find the time, but that you read a lot, right? Whether that's on building businesses or whatever it may be. A lot of the listeners are super nerdy about that kind of stuff too. Yeah. So 2 book suggestions that you would give a lawyer audience on building their business, automation, anything.
Yeah, lawyer audience, number 1 book. I think everybody should read it. Any business owner is Traction. I think that book changed the way I run my businesses. For a long time, it was kind of, hey, let's do what needs to be done. Yeah, we want to hit these goals, this and this and that, but there wasn't that tight structure that I was able to develop after reading Traction. And so that's number 1. I think everybody should read that. Number 2, it's a little bit more on the tech side, but it's kind of the Bible in the tech world. It's called 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. And I think it really applies to business owners in the law firm world as well. It's a short read. It's really quick, but it's one of my favorite books. And it really talks about how to look at your business a little bit differently, right? A lot of lawyers they still kind of believe in the old model, which is if I just do good work, I'll be fine. And you have to do good work. But nowadays, doing good work is the minimum. You have to do good work. But now you also have to learn how to get the word out. There's a lot more competition. There's a lot more people chasing the same cases. We all see it every day where business that we believe should have come to us goes somewhere else. And maybe we don't think it should have gone there. And we can complain about it and we can say, oh man, that'll fix itself over time, but not necessarily. Having a marketing company like your company or having a team behind you that can show you how to sell properly and how to position yourself in the market properly is a game changer. And 0 to 1 really does a good job of explaining that. Peter Thiel is a former COO of PayPal and involved in a lot of Silicon Valley. He's a Silicon Valley billionaire, co-founder of Palantir and all this stuff. But what he talks about, he's talking about it to engineers. He's talking to engineers and saying, look, you have to develop these products. You have to be innovative. You have to think outside the box, but also don't disrespect the sales and marketing part of it. Because no matter how cool of a product you have, no matter how awesome of a Supreme Court brief you wrote, doesn't matter if nobody knows about it.
Yep. That's a great little point there at the end. And so this is a little bit different too, because you are actually, JD, you run your own firm, right? Not just a tech person. So if you had to give one piece of advice that you've learned that you wish you knew when you started your firm, what would that be?
Yeah, I think it's kind of cliche, but it's working on your business and not in your business. I think that's a big deal. A good kind of litmus test for that is, if you're a law firm owner, could you step away from your law firm for a month and have the law firm still run? If you're in there day to day operating, then all you've done is kind of create a job for yourself and not a real business that can run. That doesn't mean you should step away for a month, but the question is, can you, right?
Yeah.
Would it still be okay? Would it still sustain? Would clients still come in? Would cases still get done? Would, liens still get negotiated, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that was probably, the first few years are obviously always survival of just, hey, let's just get the bills paid and try to take some money home at the end. But once you've gotten over that hump of, hey, we're no longer in survival, we're now thriving. It's how can I set up the systems and everything so that if I do need to step away, the business can run itself.
I always think the biggest issue that I see is the delegation part. And it's part of it is removing the ego and saying that, you know what, I'm not the only person that can write that brief. I'm not the only person that can do it well. Also giving some grace that there's going to be hiccups when you put somebody else in place, right? But training. So I could not agree more with what you just said there too.
Yeah. I mean, I think what you just said is exactly right, is that understanding that, hey, if I have somebody else take this depo, or if I have somebody else write this brief, I can still review it and I can still check before it gets turned in, but you got to give them that trust to be able to do that, right? I mean, when I started my career, I started the DA's office, and my third week as an attorney, I'd gotten sworn in. My third week as an attorney, they had me go try a case, and I went and tried a case by myself. And at first I was a little bit nervous, and then I started thinking, if they really cared about the result, they wouldn't let a third week attorney do this. So I'm just going to go and do it and not worry about it, because clearly they're not worried about it. So why should I be worried about it? And it's kind of the same thing as, like, maybe you're not going to let a brand new attorney go try a case at a law firm. It's different when you work for the government, and it's a whole different thing. But there are things that they can do, right? You should have a plan in place that, hey, what I want when an attorney starts with me is I want them to, send me 5-10 samples. I want them to sit in with me with 5 or 10 depots, and then I want them to do it themselves. But if your plan is, hey, I'm just going to do it all myself for the next 40 years, it's not really sustainable.
And it's not scalable.
And it's not scalable. It's definitely not scalable.
Yeah. All right. So when you are not reading and running 2 businesses, what is your 2 hobbies outside of that? Things.
My 2 hobbies are my 2 sons. Okay. That's it. Hobby number 1 and hobby number 2. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing I like more than going to their kind of like sports games and stuff like that. I mean, that's just, there's nothing better than that. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I work on the businesses. I don't read a ton. There are people that I see people posting on social media, like they read 62 books in a year. I'm like, how did you do that? So it's insane. I mean, I try to get in 30 minutes of reading a day, before I go to bed or right when I wake up. Yeah.
That's
if I can
impressive.
That's impressive. I mean, I don't know if that's impressive. I mean, if I can read a chapter a day or, 20 minutes here, it's like, great. I got a bunch of stuff in, and it adds up. It all compounds. Right. And so that's kind of what I do. And then just hang with the kids, backyard football, take them to the park, that kind of stuff. I don't really have a lot of I'm not a golfer. I'm not I don't really have a lot of stuff outside of those things. I don't know what I'm going to do when they go to college.
Yeah. Oh, we'll have to figure out how to have hobbies. So for our listeners, how old are the 2 boys?
10 and 5.
Misery.
Yeah, the 2 boys are 10 and 5. I'm really lucky. Those are really good ages for them. I probably got a couple years left before the 10-year-old doesn't want to hang with me anymore, but I'm enjoying it while I got it.
Maybe you can turn your 30 minutes into 2 hours a day, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah.
All right. Well, that's great. Did you have anything you wanted to add about yourself, the company, the industry that I maybe didn't get to cover today for our listeners?
Yeah, what I'll throw out there to all the law firm owners, obviously, if you're listening to, your podcast, they're a little bit more tech forward. They're a little bit more, understanding of how the industry is changing. And they're probably having a little bit of trouble finding the time to go deal with all these different tech companies that are out there. What I would say is, if you can't find somebody in your firm to do it for you, then you should do it is just take 30 minutes every 2 weeks. And so twice a month, just take a demo with a different tech company and see what they've got to offer, right? We always, for example, another company I'll plug here is Case Text. I'm not an investor or anything like that. I'm a big fan of them, right? And you know, we used to use Westlaw, we used to use LexisNexis. And so I just had one of my associates take the demo with Case Text, and she was blown away. She was like, this is just way better. It's cheaper. And so we switched. And so I think that there's so many things out there that can help your practice, that can help you balance your work and your life, balance all these things, and help you achieve all the things you want to achieve. But you got to invest a little bit of time. So whether it's EsquireTek or whether it's any other company that's out there, if I would really highly encourage law firm owners to take 30 minutes every 2 weeks, maybe it's a lunch break or whatever, just set a demo with a new company or a new software. And most of them are going to be a waste of time. But understand that if you find one that improves your practices and improves your businesses, improves your business process, the ROI on that is ridiculous.
It's bottom dollars. And I love that that's just such a small threshold. It's 30 minutes every 2 weeks. You're not trying to overload yourself with that. And even if you can have an associate do it, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be you, just your firm needs to be looking into things because you never know what's out there. Absolutely.
Yeah, if it's an intake software, then maybe your intake person looks at it. If it's a, you know, and then depending on the cost, a lot of the stuff is like crazy cheap, where I had somebody look at it and they told me the price and I was just like, yeah, just sign up. Like if it's going to make your life easier, it's $1,000 a year. Like we're not talking about a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing that I was going to ask, as you said that, we talked about pricing, you talked about the 3 steps to integrate and use the product. Your demo, that's a live demo with somebody, or is that something that you can send in an email, people can do it whenever they want? Do you have like a free demo type thing on your website?
We have both, right?
Okay.
We have so on YouTube, we have a bunch of videos. On our website, we have an explainer video that's about 3 to 4 minutes long that kind of shows you the basics. Yeah, we do have a live demo too. A lot of firms like having that live person because, you know, as we were talking about, every firm does things a little bit differently. So if they can have that live person give them a 30-minute demo, they get to ask the questions that are specific to their process and the way they do it. And hey, can we customize this to fit our process? So that's always good because it helps you kind of build the relationship with your account executive, as well as answer those specific questions that may be specific to your firm. But we've had, you know, what's been really surprising is we've had so many law firms just sign up, no demo. They just heard about it from somebody. Maybe they heard about it on a podcast or whatnot. They watched the video and they just signed up. And then I'll email them and I'll say, hey, I saw you signed up, you know, just checking in. Did you want a training or anything like that? They're like, no, we're good. We saw the video online. You know, it's pretty straightforward product. So that's been really surprising and honestly, like it's a blessing, because I think that if lawyers can sign up for a tech product and not need any training on it, that tells you how easy it is to use. Because
it says something about EsquireTek, right? Absolutely.
Yeah, they're notoriously anti-tech.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And I've thoroughly enjoyed learning a little bit more about the product that, you know, I didn't know about from just in passing as we've talked in the past year. So I do hope to see you at a conference soon.
Oh, I'll be there. You know, we're on the circuit just like you, Nalini.
Well, I also now can't do the donut wall anymore. We can't do the video.
I know.
I'm just ready to see what the next.
You've seen all our moves now. You've seen all our moves. That was so we'll have to come up with
raising the bar, right?
Yeah, we're gonna have to do something crazy. But I think that's another thing, right? Like when we talk about being different, we talk about standing out. You know, how many people want to walk through an exhibit hall and it's like you feel like a piece of meat when you're a lawyer. It's just like everybody's trying to grab your attention. You're like, look, I'm just trying to get lunch. So you know, we try to create these spaces that actually get people to want to come and hang out. You know, as you know, we had the arcade and we had all that stuff. It's people want to come and hang out and chat and have a good time. And then they'll talk to us and be like, okay, you know, I got something, I'll give you something. But, you know, if it's just a matter of, can I get something from you? People aren't going to really be interested in that.
And that's a great point too, from the lawyer's perspective, feeling like a piece of meat, a lot of times the poor booth people feel scared because they're like, everybody's averting eye contact. I'm not going to bite them, right? I'm just here if they need help, have questions about things.
Right.
We're not going to attack you. But
Right.
yeah, it is. And I love anything that I see that changes that dynamic in particular, that makes the room friendlier and nobody's afraid to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And be sold, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think you're right. I think, I've seen kind of both sides of the coin now, right? As the lawyer, you're definitely afraid, oh, this guy or this girl's just going to try to sell me and pitch me. And on the flip side, I'm not trying to sell anybody. I just want people to know we exist. And if it's for you, it's for you. And if it's not, that's fine too. It's not for everybody, but so it's interesting for me to see kind of both sides now.
Absolutely. All right. Well, and on that point, if it's for you, it's for you. If it's not, it's not, and it's fine. I love that. I kind of want to use that. Can that just be the background of our movie?
Yeah, exactly.
So that people know, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, well, it's always a pleasure, and I really appreciate having you on today. Thanks so much for taking
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us for this week's episode of the Legal Tech Insider. Don't forget to stay tuned for new episodes and fresh insights by subscribing to our show on all of your favorite streaming platforms.